Hello, everybody. Welcome to Maker Monday. It's another Maker Monday, and I am Patrick Kofi Austin, and of course, we got James here in the building. How you doing there, James?
I'm doing good. It's Monday. We got a good guest, and I get to talk to everybody. It's a good time. Um, but yeah, welcome everybody. It's Maker Monday. I'm down here in Lafayette, Indiana, downtown Lafayette, Indiana, running the Makerspace, MatchBOX Makerspace. If you have any questions, concerns, or just really want to talk about it, I'd love to have you down to the space. We are completely open. We're open 24/7 to our members. Um, I'd love to have other people on the show too. But with that, I'm going to introduce our guest. I've known Brian now for a while. He runs NWI Comic-Con, Northwestern Indiana Comic-Con, and I must say he does an amazing job. It's one of my favorite conventions. It's not too far away from me right here. But without further ado, Brian, how you doing?
Hey man, I'm doing pretty good. Thanks for having me on the show, and thanks for the compliment on my show. I appreciate that.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, it's literally one of my favorite conventions. It's the one that I actually tell everybody, hey, have you been to a Comic Con before? No. Okay, well, I have a perfect one for you, right? It's not
That's
too crowded.
awesome.
It's a beginner's one. And it's better than just beginners. But can you tell us kind of about it in your own words?
Sure. Well, I'm Brian Grabinski,
Yeah.
showrunner of the NWI Comic-Con, and I've been collecting comics since I was 12. I'm in my 40s now, so a very long time. But I've also been going to cons since I was 12, and through the years and the years and years of going to conventions, I started making friends, and then I started attending cons. But anytime I wanted to go to con, I had to go to Chicago or Indianapolis or out of state. We didn't have one close to home. So one of my goals was to make a family-friendly, affordable convention in Northwest Indiana. And we're going on our 8th year. And we started small, but we're going strong. We're actually going to be at a new location this next time, and I'm both nervous and excited about it. So,
Yeah, same, really. I mean, anytime there's a new location, things can change. It's like I said, one of my favorites. My company actually comes up and has been working with you, as I mentioned, I think since the second year.
yep.
So every time we change location and things like that, it's always a possible issue. But I think that the new place that you have sounds really good. Can you tell us about the new convention center you're going to use?
Sure. So we're going to the Lake County Fairgrounds in Crown Point, Indiana, and we're going to be inside the. I don't have the numbers in front of me, but this place is huge. Square footage wise, it's bigger than where our previous shows were at. So hopefully it's enough space to accommodate everything we want to do. We do have to build our own stage this time instead of having a stage on site. That's kind of something new, but we're going to pull it off, man. We're going to make it work.
Yeah, I have no doubt in the fact that you're going to make it work. Speaking of making it work, this is Maker Monday. So I would love to, I guess, get into one, like how you got started in making a convention, but then like actually what goes into making a convention, like making it happen, making that show go. And that's kind of why we have you on here tonight. And and definitely some of your artistry I want to get into later. But so how did you get started? How did you, I mean, you went into it a little bit, but what made you want to do it?
Yeah, well, like I said, I always had to travel to find a con, and I've always been a fan of comics and pop culture. So all the friendships that I had developed over the years, I decided, hey, I'm going to start a con. So I started asking these professionals that I had developed friendships with, and I said, hey, if I started a con in Northwest Indiana, would you be interested in being part of it? And I'd say out of 50% of the people that I asked, no one even asked me a price, where it was going to be, or anything. They just said, sign me up. And I was like, well, hey man, that's a lot of support. I didn't turn to Kickstarter. I didn't do any of that. I just said, man, I'm going to do this, and started doing it. And I started researching on places I could have it. My first year was super small because I wasn't sure what kind of attendance I would get, but I packed the place. I mean, we had, I think, over 2,000 attendees our first year. I was like, wow, man, people really want this in Northwest Indiana. So the next year I went to a bigger place, and we got 1,000 more attendees on top of that. I'm like, man, this is something that the community was hungry for. Northwest Indiana was hungry for a Comic-Con, and I'm happy to be that driving force that brought this to the region.
Yeah, I mean, they were hungry for a good Comic-Con, and I'm not saying the other ones aren't around, but you just do it well, right? So to be very, very clear, I don't think that it would have survived had you not been good to the attendees and to the vendors, and really like made everything clear about what's happening. You usually provide like free parking, and you let people know that. So all these factors. So I guess getting more into the making of it, how do you even go about starting? Like, what if you were even if you want to give advice to like,
Sure.
what's your favorite thing, or not favorite thing, but how do you get about starting?
Yeah, research, man. It's about finding a location that you can afford, and then once you find your location and you get quotes on prices on what it would cost you for tables and chairs and linens and things of that nature, put a budget together. And then once you have, this is something that you can strive for, then you figure out how many tables you can fit in said location, and then based on that number of tables, you start inviting guests. And in my cases, my first show was based on a lot of people that I knew in the industry. But as we've grown, I've met hundreds of more people I didn't even know that lived in our area that were artists. It's an amazing community. I love being in the comic and pop culture community, man. I love it with all my heart. And it's definitely a passion project because it can get stressful. You got to make your own deadlines. You have to meet those deadlines. You got to collect payments. So you become like a bill collector and a marketer. And I mean, there's all these things that happen behind the scenes. But if you love it and you're passionate about it, follow through with it, man, and you'll make it happen. And your end result will be a good show. Treat people how you want to be treated. You had made mention that me and my staff treat people well, and that's what I tell my staff. Treated.
Yeah. So how many people do you have on staff, by the way?
It varies year to year, but we usually have 8 to 10 people on staff. And a lot of these are volunteer people, and they're friends and family, and they're volunteers, and they dedicate their time to helping make this an amazing show. They help me with setup and breakdown and parking attending, and sure everyone's taken care of. Everyone's got everything that's copacetic.
No, it's also a long day the day of, right?
Man, it is.
What time do you get there the day of?
Like, we get there at like 5 a.m. and we leave at like 12 at night, man. Mm-hmm. For a 1-day show, it's just crazy, but it's worth it, man. It really is worth it.
Well, I'll say this as an attendee and somebody who intends on continuing to go to it. Really, like, we appreciate it. We really do. And I hear from the cosplay community and from the maker community and from comic book artists that I know, they all love going to your convention. Really, like, it's really.
And I think it was a couple years ago. I have it out in the living room, but you had made an award for me to show appreciation.
Oh, yeah.
Dude, that actually brought a tear to my eye, man. Not much brings a tear to my eye, but that did. Man, you got me, bro.
Well, I mean, here's the thing: if you're going through all that effort, okay, and everything you've done, it's good to get recognized for it. It doesn't, you don't have to, but it's helpful, right? People really were excited when I told them that we were making that award for you, because you do need thanked for all that hard work you guys do.
it really moves me, man, and it was truly appreciated. And it's in our living room in a high profile place. I'd go get it, but we're in the middle of a meeting here.
Yeah, no, that's totally fine. Yeah, so out of all the things that you've, I guess, put together for this, what do you think one of the hardest parts of it is? What's one of your biggest challenges?
Logistics. I always never seem to have enough space.
Yeah.
I'll have people sign up to be part of the show, and it goes from 100 signups to 1,000 signups, and it's like, man, I don't have room for 1,000 people, so I had to start doing a juried show. I just don't have room for everyone. It's I wish I could. If I had the funds to have a 2-day show, or run out like an old Kmart or something, I'd be on it, because that would give me the space to do it. But I don't have that kind of fundage behind me. You know what I mean?
Right.
We do
And
what we can with what we got.
And you're working with relatively small teams of volunteers. I know it's you and your wife and a few other people that I pretty much talk to almost year round about it. But for the most part, it's definitely like a, how often, I guess really where I'm getting at is, how often are you working on it? Is it year round for you for the one show, or is it kind of a break?
It's not year round. When I first started, it was. Now it's about a heavy 6 months. So I'll open up registration in September. We'll close registration in November, but then it's all about securing the guests and making sure I have the confirmation from the VIPs, and then making sure everything behind the scenes is lined up, all the tables, the chairs, the facility, all the odds and ends. So it's a good solid half a year for me for a 1-day show.
Yeah, that's. I mean, I don't think a lot of people realize how much work goes into a 1-day show, like you were saying.
Yeah,
Speaking
man.
of the 1-day show, I know there was a little while there that you talked about, hey, should we do a 2-day show? You told people. What are your thoughts on doing a 2-day show eventually?
Man, it's something I would like to do down the road. I just don't know if I can financially pull it off. It's a show of this magnitude costs more than you think it would.
Yeah.
It's a lot.
Yeah. So speaking of,
put it at that.
For tickets though for your show, they've always been super well priced. The parking's free typically. So I really do think that you do a service to the community in general, because like I always see kids there. I always see families there. I always see tons and tons of cosplay. Like, holy crap, for it being where it is, there is so much really good quality cosplay and people having
so many
fun.
talented people.
Oh,
so,
man.
Like I had said, one of my main goals was to make a family-friendly, affordable convention. And I've tried my best to adhere to that. You know what I mean? So when my kids were younger and I would take them to cons with me, it was $20 to park, $40 to get in the door, $30 for lunch. I've spent all this money and I haven't even bought anything yet for me or the kids. It's like, man. So I kept thinking there's got to be a way to have that feel of a big time show at a smaller location where you can have an artist alley and dealers and cosplay and an affordable admission and affordable food options, and I just racked my brain and we came up with it, man. And we just continue rolling with it, and it's well received, and I'm happy to do it.
It is well received. I'm really glad that you're happy doing it. I would consider charging more. I mean, I hate people out there listening to this might be like, damn it, James, shut the hell up. Right. But honestly, it's worth it. And you've proven it. I mean, I know you've set your prices this year and everything, but if you're going to do a 2-day con or anything like that, like it really does need to be worth your time, right?
Yeah,
So,
and I totally agree, and I totally appreciate that, and that's something a lot of people tell me quite often. You know, is you put on a great show, you really should charge more, but you know, I'm gonna keep it family friendly and affordable, man.
you do you, right? You do what you want to do.
Your show, and I need to charge more. We'll go down that road, but right now, man, it's gonna stay, you know, relatively affordable for everyone.
Yeah, and I think that's something that the other, I guess, affordability of it is that the vendors that you have, a lot of shows, they nickel and dime people, right? You know, like, hey, you can have power if there's a little bit more or something. Like you tend to take as a vendor from my perspective as a vendor at your show, you tend to take pretty damn good care of both. And also judge the costume contest usually at your show too. So you take really good care of the judges. I always commend that as a team, but then also as a vendor, we always we always have a packet there with all the stuff. I've told people this multiple times, and this is kind of two different things, but I've judged a lot of cosplay shows, and the organization that you guys have with the little binder and everything else that you have is off the hook, comparatively speaking.
Chrissy would be so happy to hear that. You're probably
I've told her
to her eye.
Yeah, and I mean honestly, it's impressive because a lot of times you don't have much to go on, right? They give you like a piece of paper and they're like, "Hey, do your thing." Like there is color combination, 3 ring binders. Like you guys care, and you also do good things like have the kids cosplay walk contest type thing.
Yeah, the parade, the kids costume parade. Yeah, man, and that's another thing that's really well received because you know, I think about when my kids were younger and how influential it was to them. You have younger kids, James, you know, so you know that power that a superhero can hold. You know, they've seen them in comic books, they've played with the toys, they've seen them on TV, but when they see them in person and that person stays in character, it's, I won't say it's life changing, but it's something that that child will remember, you know. And cons with your kids is about building memories. You know, it's, you have a similar interest, you're having fun doing the same thing, you know.
Yeah, I mean, cons as an adult is about building memories. It's funny. I have brought my kids to your event, but most of the time I don't like to bring my kids to the event.
Yeah, no,
I'd rather just have fun at the events as an adult.
And I completely understand
it's
that.
It's for everyone, right? Which is
fun. You know, one of my taglines is
if
6 or 60, you'll have a good time at the NWI Comic-Con.
Yeah, and I've met really cool artists and really cool like authors and a bunch of other people at your convention. And like you had like a makeup display going, or there was a guy in like a Goblin. I forget what his actual name is. But super cool guy.
Yeah, the Green Goblin.
Yeah.
That guy was one of the contestants on Face Off.
That's right. That's right.
You know, I reached out to him and I said, "Hey, man, I saw you on TV. I throw this local con. Would you be interested in being a guest?" And his like, "Man, I'll do even better. I'll do a live makeup." I'm like, "Wow, man, that's amazing." And it turned out so good. Like,
so good.
Man, it was camera ready. It was just amazing. So there was actually 2 contestants now I think about it. The other contestant did the costume while the one guy did the makeup, and it came together like peanut butter and jelly, man. You know, it was amazing.
Yeah. And so getting more to that, like, how do you, if somebody wants to be a guest, I know it's a little late now. I guess it's not, maybe not too late, probably is. But if somebody's interested in either helping out or being a guest or doing things like that for your show in the future, like how do you find those people, or how do people reach out to you?
Yeah, well, the best place to find us is on the website, and the website is NWI-comic-con.com. Go to the website. We have all of our information on there, and when the registration forms are open, they're all on there. email. Our email is on there. You can always get a hold of me via email if you'd like to volunteer. Or one thing we also like to do is we like to have a backup list. So if you miss registration and we have a cancellation, get on our backup list because, you know, you could help fill that spot. Nothing I hate more at a show than empty tables, man. You know?
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Yeah, so we went over some of the difficulties. What's the thing you like the most? What? Maybe not the thing, but what are some of the things you very much enjoy about the show or throwing it?
For me, man, it's seeing the smiles on the kids' faces when they see that superhero for the first time. It's having people coming up to me and saying, "Man, look at this piece of art. Look at this art that I bought. I've never seen anything like it." You know, and all the like behind the scenes relationships that have been built behind the show. It's the show makes a lot of impact. There was a time where I thought, man, this is too much. Maybe I need to step away. But then so many people were like, Brian, don't 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 step away, man. And so I pulled myself out of that rut and I said, you know what? We're gonna do it. We're gonna keep going bigger and better every year.
Yeah, I mean, you need that though. You need to be able to take a step back if you want to. So, I mean, I know that your wife and a couple other people have helped you, but do you have, I guess, some type of like backup plan or like exit strategy for you that can keep the convention going, or is that something you've just not thought about yet?
Yeah, that's definitely something down the road, man. COVID hit us hard. I wasn't sure cons were ever going to make a comeback.
Yeah,
So that year off was well needed, and even though it sucked for everyone,
yeah.
it was kind of that break that I needed to recharge my batteries, and it was one of the things that helped me do the research and made me come to the decision that I was going to go to a bigger and different location. You know, it's like rising like a phoenix from the ashes. COVID kept us all
Yeah.
down and locked up, and now we're vaccinated and we're ready to start doing this again. You know,
Yeah, and my kids are even vaccinated now.
uh,
So like that's something that I was always worried about. Even if I got my vaccination, I'd bring it back to them.
yeah,
So I'm super happy to hear that.
yeah, me
Um,
too.
and as far as COVID the break, I hear that from a decent amount of people on this show that it was a good time to sit and reflect. It was an awful situation,
It
right?
was,
It stinks that how we had to do it, but it is nice that that some of the people got to slow down a little bit.
yeah,
You get to kind of reevaluate what's important in whatever it is that you're doing. So you found that too, then, right?
yeah, I did. You know,
Okay.
I got the R&R that I needed. I got to recharge my batteries and that I needed for the 22 show.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I'm very excited about the 22 show, and it usually is, at least for me, it's usually the first convention of the season or
Yeah,
of
I hear
the year, I
a
should
lot of
say.
people. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, because it's in February, like
yeah.
every year, right?
Yep. And the reason I do a February show is so I'm not competing with all of the other shows because throughout the year there are so many other shows.
Hmm.
And a lot of people have cabin fever in February because it's snowy out, it's cold out. You know, people haven't been able to do a lot of things that they want to do, so it's a good chance to get out either by yourself with your buddies or with your family. You know, it's a
Yeah,
good
it
show.
just it just occurred to me that that's possibly one of the reasons we see such good costumes at the show is that people have been working on it all winter,
That could be.
and they're just excited. Yeah, no,
There are
I feel like that.
phenomenal freaking cosplayers at NWI Comic-Con, man. And
Yeah,
as a judge, man, I couldn't even imagine judging some of those because some of them are so amazing. It's like, wow, my man, I don't want to be in your shoes, just like you don't want to be in mine.
yeah, yeah. I mean, and that's the fun of it, though, right? Like if you're a
Yeah,
judge
no,
in
I
a
agree,
costume
man.
contest and they're all good, then
Mm,
yes, your job is hard, but it's also awesome too because you get to see all these amazing costumes come through.
yeah,
And now, and really, as far as the whole show, I want to get focused more basically back on making of the show. Um, so you spend 6 months of your year doing it. You have to talk back and forth to vendors and guests and the venue, everything else like that.
Yep.
Um, what's something that you weren't expecting that you have to deal with when you first started? Like, did you think you're gonna have to do all the things you're doing?
No. And man, I hate to air dirty laundry, but every year there seems like there's some kind of behind the scenes drama with someone, like
Yeah, of course.
I'll get an email say, "Don't let me sit by this person." They made me so mad at this last con, or a cosplayer will say, "I'm not gonna come to your show if this cosplayer is gonna be there," and I'm like, "Hey man, it's a free. I mean, it's a free country. If he wants to come, I'm not gonna stop him. If you don't want to come, I'm sorry, but
Yeah.
uh,
Yeah, I mean,
it's
that gets real bad real fast, especially when people were thinking that so and so's a guest or a person, and like, and I
in some
mean, yeah,
situations, I agree 107%.
totally,
If
totally.
there was bad blood or something harmful was done, I'm on it like you wouldn't believe. But if it's just basic drama, keep it for your mama because I don't have time for that.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I 100% agree with that, and it
Yeah.
is important to know things though. So it's not that you don't want people to come to you with things
No,
because
I agree.
they could
Yeah,
definitely come with
I don't want to
something
be
big.
perceived that way either.
Yeah,
If there is something important, or if you feel like someone has done harm to you and you prefer not to see them, I will support you 110%.
right. No, I understand that. Um, let's see. So one of the questions I love to ask on this show, and it's a little bit different for you, but I'll go.
Uh-huh.
What's your favorite tool for making a show
Yeah.
for running a Comic Con?
For me, man, you hate being a slave to technology, but without the computer, without my iPad or my iPhone, man, I'd be dead in the water. I
Of course.
need all those tools to help with the promotions, to help build the website, to help make my floor plan. So without those tools, we wouldn't be as successful as I am now. So
Yeah. So I gotta say, see this thing I have on right now. I like live with this thing on now, and if you are on the phone a decent amount, I swear, like AirPods or something, some type of wireless, um, just being able to talk to people when you use your hands to do something else
oh,
is a
sure.
lifesaver. I love that. I'm sure you have to take a lot of phone calls for things like this,
Oh, we do.
right? Yeah.
Yeah. Um,
Yeah.
so another thing that you had mentioned was
Hmm.
my wife Kelly and how she helps behind the scenes a lot, like a ton. Not only does she help a lot during the show, but she helps a lot before the show too. So I just want to give credit where credit's due and give a call out to Kelly, man, because as you know, having a spouse that is into what you're into, it helps. It helps a lot.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, a lot of times people, I tell them that you and her run the con. So a lot, like, because I know you do, but
It's
everybody's like, oh, have you met Brian? He runs. I'm like, yeah, and Kelly,
yeah,
right? So
yep,
like my messages and my conversations are usually to both of you,
yeah,
right?
yep.
Yeah.
And we appreciate that. I'm the face of Comic Con,
Hmm.
but she's definitely a driving force behind the show.
Hmm. So speaking of being a face of the convention, that was something I wanted to talk about was you're usually there, like boots on the ground during the convention. If something goes wrong, or if somebody wants to come like say hi to you, you're right there and available. I know some cons, the people who are running it, you don't even know who they are,
Yeah,
right? So
yeah,
that's to me that is nice to see that, but it's got to be a little hectic for you, right?
it
Especially
is.
since you've been there since 5 in the morning.
I sometimes I call myself the fireman because I do have to put out so many fires during the day.
Oh yeah.
I- It it's part of it. It's part of being the showrunner. It's part of my responsibilities, and For every bad situation that I run into, there's 20 fantastic situations that make up for it, so sometimes it's stressful and sometimes it's smooth. It all depends on what's going on that year.
Yeah, yeah, and what kind of like guests everybody else you have. Yeah, and I think that's something that a lot of people need to give grace to people who are running shows. I always just assume that if you come by and you say hi, that you're probably going to be gone in about 2 seconds, and most of the time you are, and that's
Yeah.
fine because you have stuff to go do.
Yeah,
Right, and it's great to even see you on the floor.
that's awesome.
I mean,
I appreciate
yeah, and I mean, I think a lot of people understand that too. Like, don't get me wrong, but
Yeah,
but
I hope
it's
so.
it's one of those things that I feel um, I'm appreciative of it, I guess, right? Because you actually come by and beforehand and after and during,
Yeah.
you or your team are always looking out to see if make sure things are good, and even stuff like, I mean, I've seen your guys helping people load up their cars. And helping people like walk in when it's icy or something else. Because in February, right, you guys always
Yeah.
do a pretty good job of like clearing out the snow and making sure all those things. I know we have a bus that I had to park and I had to like I had to heat it somehow. Like I had to make sure I could have a plug that could heat, so you accommodate for that. And just these little things. I'm sure every single person that's at the show needs some type of thing here or there, right? If you're there long
Yep.
enough. And let me take this second for a second. Just if you're watching, please feel free to ask questions, right? Because one of the reasons we do this live is so we can get questions from the audience as well. Um, but yeah, so Brian, I guess a totally off the wall question, and I don't know, Kofi's. I think Kofi's just there watching, but Kofi, we should bust out the deck of many questions. But one that I wanted to ask you though is, if you could go back in time and current Brian gets a time machine, you can go back and talk to Brian of old or past Brian. What do you say? And when do you go? What do you do? What's some
Yeah.
advice?
Man, I would go to Brian back in the 1980s and tell him to invest. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, invest in Google and Amazon.
like hot tub time machine.
Yes, exactly like hot tub. I'm so glad you understand frugal or not frugal. Lugal is what he made. Sorry.
Yeah. So if I was to see my, travel back in time and give myself some advice, it'd probably be to start this show sooner, so I could be at my 10 year now instead of my 8 year. But one thing that I did learn from doing this show is never be afraid to ask, because if you don't ask, you won't know. And the worst you're going to get is a yes or a no. Some of the high profile guests I get, people will be like, man, how'd you get Tim Seeley? His like huge, his writing, Robin and Nightwing. And I said, I made friends with him and I asked.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what you got to do, man. You got to break out of that comfort zone. Don't be afraid to ask.
That's good advice for sure.
That's something that I learned that I wish I probably would have learned sooner.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, that applies to everywhere, right? Not
Yeah,
just
right.
when you're running a show or anything, like anything.
Yeah, it really does.
Yeah. All right. So I wanna throw it over to some deck of mini questions. So we haven't done this in a while. And Brian, I'm sorry if these questions get kind of weird. And Kofi, I'm not even sure if you're there, but I think you are probably, maybe. But you got any questions ready for us?
I'm here.
What's up, man? I was like, oh no, he apparently left. I need to hear from Kofi. So you got any questions, man?
Yeah, my question is, what is your favorite guest that you've had at one of your cons?
That's a good one. That's a good one.
Man, you put me on the spot.
Oh man,
I mean,
you got to make it hard for you, right? You don't come on the show and get easy questions.
Yeah, no, man, I've had a lot of great guests. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Dave Dorman. He's pretty big in the Star Wars community and the Star Wars world. It was kind of an honor to have Dave Dorman as a guest a couple of times at some previous shows. I'm a big fan of Tim Seeley, both his art and his writing. He's done so much work for Marvel and DC. His a personal favorite, man. Tim Seeley's great. Last year, I had Art Balbazar at my show. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Art. He does like Itty Bitty Hellboy and Tiny Titans and things like that. He's got this really crazy cartoon style, and it kind of matches his personality. He is just so cool, man. And I love visiting with him. He's just one cool cat, man. He really is. That's all I got.
Oh, no, that's good. No,
That's
I
good.
think you got another question or anything?
Oh, that was just one of my main ones. I figured
Oh.
I was, because I'm sitting here like, oh, he's done a lot of shows and
So many shows, dude, and so many
Like-
guests and so many different crazy things. I'd love to ask you. I got one for you. What's some like off the wall, like what the hell? How did this even happen? Fire or I guess issue that happened, and you're just like, what?
I got a good one for you. So
Yeah.
every show we host, we always have police officers on staff.
Sure.
That's to help in case we have any theft or any fights or anything of that nature. And a couple of years ago, there was this big commotion out in the parking lot, and everyone was calling me on the radio, and they're like, Brian, you gotta come out to the parking lot. You gotta see what's going on. And this woman was so mad at her husband because he spent like all the money that they had, all their mortgage money and car payment on comics and action figures and everything, that she was taking everything that he bought and throwing it out of the car into the parking lot. And like, it was like the craziest thing I ever saw. And the cop comes out and it's like, ma'am, you gotta calm down. And it's like, do you know how much he spent? We can't make our car payment now, and we can't do this. And she's just chucking like, these vintage toys and these graded comics across the parking lot, man.
That hurts.
Crazy, man. Oh yeah, it hurt for sure. Not only hurt his pocketbook, but man, that's crazy.
That just hurts me.
I know, right?
Those things get chucked across the parking lot. Definitely, yeah. I can see why she would be mad too.
But I can see her side, but man, don't throw his stuff because now you can't even get your money back.
Yeah. You can resell that stuff. That's kind of the reason it's that way.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, it's all about those stories, right? And learning experiences.
Sure.
What's another like one of your favorite stories from the convention?
Man, well, I'm gonna have to bring it up again. When James presented me with that award for appreciation, it really tugged my heartstrings, man. It honestly brought a tear to my eye. It was just, I had been doing the show for years, and people had told me, thank you, and we appreciate it. But man, I got an award for it, and it just, man, it was a feel good. It's a feel good story. It was a feel good moment. Appreciated that.
Yeah, we got you up on stage, on your own stage, and got to present. Yeah, you were completely surprised too.
I had no idea coming.
I was really happy because I could tell that nobody had spilled that secret.
Yeah, man. I had mouthed thank you to you. I don't know if you ever saw that, but I was like, thank you.
Sure, for sure, man.
Like
anytime, and that's one of those things. Again, I mean, everybody that's at the convention every year, and even just 1 year, a lot of people were very much appreciative of everything you do, and it was an award, right? Like, come on, man, you give us a Comic-Con every year, right? The least we can do is give you an award.
Yeah, it's awesome. It was a pinnacle moment for me.
Cool. You got any like beginning stories, like first year, second year, when you were like, I am such a noob at this?
Well, man, like I said, like the crowd we got at the first show, when I had this little wedding venue that could hold like, maybe 250 people, and I got 2,000 people. I mean, people were parking in the businesses down the street, and the businesses were coming to me and saying, hey, you're blocking up our parking lot. What are you doing? And I'm like, I don't know. I just didn't expect, that kind of turnout. So that really, really caught me off guard. But it also has been that fire behind me. Like, man, let's keep this going. Let's get as many people as we can each year to keep the fan base growing, to keep the show growing.
Yeah, yeah. And yeah, Lisa's down there. Lisa's saying she can hardly wait for 2022. I'm the same way. Literally, I look forward to this every year. I'm like, we're going to get a C2E2 here in December.
Oh, look at that.
So,
Lisa says she can hardly wait, man. That makes me feel
yep.
good. Thank you, Lisa.
Yep. Yeah, totally. And so we're going to C2E2 here in December, and then in February, next con is you.
Yeah, and I'm looking forward to it, and there's a lot of people that I talk to that say that they want to go to C2E2 or they want to go to Wizard World, but they just can't afford it. They can't afford the $50 ticket price, or plus the parking, plus the hotel. Some people just don't have the extra funds for that.
Totally.
$12
so let's talk about
free parking.
Yeah. No, let's talk about that for a second. So you're
man.
in such a good actual physical location as far as even the city, right? So Northwestern Indiana is in this weird. Where I'm from here too, is in this weird we're near Chicago, we're near Indy, we're near St. Louis, we're near a lot of different things, even some places over in Ohio and Michigan. So do you have, obviously you have guests coming in from out of town, but do you I guess I don't know how much you track it, but do you have people that are coming over to come to the con? I know people who've come from Michigan to come down for it. But do you know what some of the furthest people have traveled to come to your con?
Oh man, I don't know the farthest, but we do have a lot of people from Chicago, Michigan, Indianapolis, Kentucky. We have had people come from Wisconsin, which is a little bit of a haul.
Yeah, Kentucky is a long haul too. You got to go all the way up through Indiana.
Yeah, kind of is a haul. So yeah, I mean, we get people from all over, and through ticket sales is usually how we track that information.
Yeah.
That, and we usually do surveys too, and we ask on the survey, how did you hear about Northwest Indiana Comic-Con, and what area are you coming from? So all that is helpful information in building our mailing list and for knowing a fan base.
Yeah, so you mentioned mailing lists. I hear all the time that one of your biggest tools of the trade is a mailing list, which I'm awful at with my company, just FYI. So do you have any advice on using mailing lists?
Yeah, man, they're huge because social media is amazing, but there's not everyone is not on the same platform. Like, everyone's not on Facebook, and everyone's not on Twitter, and everyone's not on Instagram, but almost everyone has an email. So if you have that information and they've given that information to you willingly, then take that to your advantage and mail them the information. Email them about your show. The guests are going to be at your show, the cost of your show, the location of your show. Give them all the nitty gritty they need in that email campaign, and that will get them excited for it. They'll save the date, they'll put it on their calendar, and they'll start telling their friends, hopefully.
I mean, they will. They definitely will. And I always do a really good job. I always know. I don't have any questions about how things are going to go usually, which is great. But in a lot of places, I'll go in. I'll even be vending in other places, and I'm just like, well, I guess this week they're going to email us stuff, right?
Yeah.
And sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But I definitely like that you put all the information right out there.
Yeah, man.
Speaking of social media.
Yeah, man, go for it.
I'm going to do this thing that I do to everybody on here and be like, hey, why don't you have, or do you have a TikTok?
I don't have a TikTok.
Oh, there you go.
And,
I mean, honestly, you got to start one this year.
Kelly has a TikTok, and Kelly loves TikTok.
I mean, TikTok's an amazing platform.
It's not my thing.
Okay.
Could I use it to market the con? Maybe.
I actually meant like a Northwestern Indiana Comic-Con TikTok. Right?
Well, yeah, I don't have a Comic-Con TikTok, and one of the main reasons is because I don't have a TikTok. That, honestly, 100% honest, is I do like social media. There's some great things about it, and there's some not so great things about it. But that's what every social media platform, whether it be Instagram, TikTok or Facebook. It's
Yeah.
just I personally don't have a TikTok. Do you have a TikTok, James?
I run the company TikTok, which is mainly me just watching TikTok, being like, "This is
Oh,
fantastic! Look at all the stuff I'm learning,"
you don't
and
have
I
any like?
definitely want to
Do you have
post
any?
more on there.
You have any dance videos on there you can share?
I don't have any dance videos. I should. I should definitely get some
I'm just
costume
playing.
dance videos.
I'm just
No, I
playing.
mean honestly, that's everybody thinks it's dance videos, but it's a whole lot. I learned a ton on there. But yeah, I think as things go further down that road, we're going to see more companies. And I mean, honestly, a place that's so visual like Northwestern Indiana Comic-Con, if you had a TikTok and you just like, I don't know, have a volunteer or somebody go around and shoot videos some of the day, that might help. It might help for
Yeah,
next year. So maybe put it on your list.
I can see the marketability behind that. I really
yeah, yeah.
it is
I
something
mean,
I will look into, and I appreciate your professional advice on it. It's a good question. Brian,
well,
why
and
not TikTok?
where everybody's also asking like, what's the next thing? What's the next big thing?
Yeah,
And
man.
I mean, Instagram is totally good, and Facebook is going to hit all the right markets for some things, but definitely TikTok. And with a convention, with a convention like yours, you're hitting everyone, right?
Mhm.
Like 6 to 60, right,
Yeah.
and age
Yep.
grade range, and I think that matters a lot as far as like what social media you're advertising on or you're on.
Yeah.
So that's something, and we're on Facebook right now, right? We're on YouTube and Facebook. When it'd be great to be going live on TikTok as well, but it'd be a completely different crowd.
Yeah, I agree.
But
It is
yeah,
a completely different crowd, and if you look at behind the scenes demographics, the social platform that you're using is really based on the demographics that you're after, and the TikTok crowd would definitely be someone that target market that I'd be interested in. So I appreciate this conversation because it's something I'll look more into.
yeah, I don't. It's just one of those things that I always give people crap about, but I'm actually serious because it's
Yeah,
such a
no,
good
man,
platform.
I hear you, and I appreciate you bringing it up.
I should really do like buy into it to myself though, because I like I said, I'm on it all the time. I just don't post to it, so that's the
Gotcha.
problem. Um, so yeah, do you have anything in particular that you want to share that we haven't covered yet? Either about the convention or like I actually would love to go into some of your art days.
Yeah, man. It was kind of back in the day. I used to work in video games.
Okay.
I worked at a company called Rainbow Studios out in Phoenix, Arizona, and I worked there for a couple years. And they were bought by THQ, which is a
Oh yeah.
much bigger company than they were. And I worked there again for another couple years, and they went through a round of layoffs. And they said, "Hey, Brian, you can either go to California or we give you a severance package." And Kelly is from Illinois, and she missed her family. She was really close to her family, and we had been gone for so long that we'd made the decision to come. And we lived in Illinois. And when I was in Illinois, I worked for High Voltage Software out of Hoffman Estates. I worked for Midway Games in Chicago. I had a good run, but the problem with video games for me personally is it didn't offer the stability that I needed to raise a family.
Right.
Could work on a game. It takes a year to make a game. If that game's successful, you get put on the sequel. If that game's not successful, then they're struggling to find a team or a project to put you on. And if they don't have a team or project to put you on, they lay you off. So my time in video games, I was laid off quite often. But the good thing about being a concept artist is I was able to land back on my feet a lot because they needed someone to conceptualize a lot of the characters and the weapons and the vehicles and things like that. It was a fun run. I really loved doing it, but I just got to the point where I had to step away from it so I could have the stability I needed to raise a family. And
Yeah,
that's what
totally makes
brought me in
sense.
graphic design and marketing. I needed something more stable in my life.
Cool. Yeah, well, and marketing helps for, I don't know, running a convention too.
Yeah, man, it helps a lot.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Marketing's a skill that you can just use almost anywhere, right?
Yeah, true.
Um, so, random question for you. So, well, let's go down this road.
Yeah.
what superpower would you have if you could pick any superpower? What would it be?
Oh man, if I had to pick a superpower, it'd probably be invincibility. You
Yeah.
know, where you can't be hurt anymore. You know, the older you get, the more aches and pains. Give me that invincibility.
Oh man, give me that invincibility. I hear you. Oh, my back hears you. Yeah, that's totally a thing.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, that's a good one for sure.
How about what superpower would you want?
Oh, that's a good one. Probably like time manipulation, of course.
Oh man,
But like, go figure. But
to give
yeah,
you
maybe,
more. Wait, to give yourself more time to get that cosplay contest.
kind of. I always thought that like the Zach Morris timeout and Saved by the Bell would be fantastic,
Like,
right? Like just to be able to like pause time and be like, all right,
Sure.
cool. Now I can get more stuff done and I can like
man.
learn how to do things.
Man, that's so smart. Why didn't I think of that? Why are you stealing my power, James?
I mean, I can't steal your power. You're invincible. That's the thing. Speaking of Invincible, have you seen the show and read the comic and all that?
I loved it. I read the comic book and watched the show.
Okay, I have not read the comic, but I have seen the show and it was fantastic.
Man, it was so good.
Yeah, you might see a Omni-Man if I get it done and feel confident enough to wear it at your convention. That Omni-Man would be kind of fun to do.
That sounds pretty dope.
Yeah. So, going back to, I guess, more. Now, let's not do serious questions. I'm done with serious questions unless you have something else. I got something else for you. Okay, so what song would you choose to play as you walk in the room? If every time you walked in the room you had a song play, what song would that be?
What's that Star Wars Imperial March? You know,
the Imperial March, huh? Okay.
And that'd be my theme song.
Man, I would definitely think that you were a bad guy if that was the thing that was happening. I'm just saying.
I'm not a bad guy.
Oh no.
You know,
I know you're not a bad guy. That's the thing.
I kind of really dig that. You know, I dig the.
I'll pop in and say that's a fantastic choice.
I know, man. See, it's the power that it exhumes. You know what I mean?
Sure, yeah.
You know,
and I mean, you can't listen to anything Kofi is saying about this because he was an Imperial officer in a comic book, so I don't want to even hear about it. Of course, he's going to pick that. Right? Yeah, right. I don't know, for people who haven't seen it. Hold on, I got it like right here. Let's go. This pertains to.
No, he's just trying to embarrass me.
Yeah, look at this. I don't know. See, that's actually Kofi.
Dude, that's awesome.
In this comic book.
You know, that's a John Tyler Christopher cover there. I've had John as a guest at the show, man. That's a phenomenal artist. And that piece is cool, man. Be proud of that, Kofi.
I mean, I will never forget the first time that Kofi told me that story. He was like, I'm kind of in a comic book or whatever.
Dude, it's so cool, man.
I know.
I would tell everyone about that story.
Yeah, I think that like he hadn't, I guess he wasn't quite aware of the impact that was going to make. Like literally, that's one of the biggest reasons I'm his friend right now is because he was on this comic book. Right? Like, and
that's awful, but true.
Like, no, it's 100% true. No, it's not true, but it's cool. It is super duper cool.
That's so funny.
And I'm glad you can appreciate that, right? And he knew right away that it was John Tyler Christopher, and he's an awesome artist too.
He is so awesome, man. He's got that niche for those action figure covers, and he's done so many of them. They're amazing. You know, they become as collectible as the action figure because he does so many. You want to collect them all. They're like, man, that's so cool. And you just keep getting them.
Cool. So, aside from comics, what do you collect? Do you have anything weird that you collect?
I don't collect anything weird, man. I got so many comics I can open my own store, and I got so many pop figures I'm running out of room, man. I got them in the bedroom. I got them in the living room. I got them at the office at work. They're just so cool, you know, because any fandom that you're into, they got a pop figure for it, and it's
yeah, for sure.
It's so cool, man. It's just it's like comics. It's just one of those things that I started collecting, and I kind of got addicted to it. You know, they're awesome, and they keep coming up with you know, so many cool ones, so many characters, and so many variations. You know, they're just like comics. You know, you got so many variant covers, and then just like comics, the value keeps going up. You know, you buy one day for $6, you go online 3 days later, and it's $160, and it's like, holy crap, man, that's kind of cool.
Oh yeah, well, I mean anything like that. When we do the same with stuff for cosplay and other things. I mean anything that's out of print or you can't get anymore,
Yeah,
right? So
yep.
supply and demand, right? There's so
It,
many people who are into these things.
it really is. It really is supply and demand, man. You hit the nail on the head.
Yeah. All right. So you're a big comic book guy.
Yep.
What's your favorite comic book and character?
Um. So character wise, Lobo is one of my favorite characters. You know, I'm not only my big Lobo fan, but the Crow too. You know, the original James O'Barr Crow series, man. That was like, man, I think I read that in high school, and I was like, man, this is so cool because it was so different than everything else. Like I had grown up with Spider-Man and Captain America and Batman and all that, and then when I read the Crow, I was like, man, this like changes things. And then
Yeah.
and then comics started following that route. You know, they went from being all bright and patriotic to more darker and gory as the times went on. They kind of evolved with the times. You
Oh,
know.
I remember when Spawn came out and everybody
Oh
was like,
yeah, man.
"What the actual crap is this?" They
Right.
were like, it blew everybody's mind.
Yeah, because it was so different. You
Mhm.
know, it looked like Batman. It had that feel of Batman, but it wasn't Batman. It was nothing near Batman, and what was so cool about it. You know, is
Mhm.
that different thing, and that as a comic book guy, you know, I fall into the trap of, you know, crossovers and timelines time to time. But what I really look for is something with an art style that's different and a story that's different. If you give me something like that, that's an original idea that's well done, man, and I am all over it. You have me from issue one to no matter how far you go, you'll have me trapped.
So if you had to pick a comic book or fandom, I guess, what would it be?
Man,
Sorry, I'm asking hard questions.
no,
I
I
know.
know no, it's cool. Um, see, superheroes are cool, but I also like, you know, sci-fi. I'm a big sci-fi guy.
Yeah.
Throw kung fu in there, man, and I'm sold. You know, I grew up on Samurai Saturday. um, so I like a comic that has a lot of action and a unique spin on things, like a vampire on a cruise ship or a vampire in space. You know, something that's, you know, different, something that's different than what everyone else is doing. Because um, don't get me wrong, I like, you know, normal every now and again.
Sure.
Free from like liberating. You know what I mean? It's like to see such a fresh approach on something uh, changes the way you think. You know, because you'll see something that you haven't seen before, and it makes you think, "Man, that is so cool! Like, why didn't I think of that?" Or
Yeah, yeah.
"How did I think of that?"
Well,
You know?
especially as a concept artist, like you are or were, I guess.
Yeah,
Um, I mean, still you still have that in you, right? So
yeah,
yeah,
man.
seeing
I
something
still
that
doodle every
inspires
once.
you. Yeah.
Oh, if a comic's got good story and fantastic art, I'm all over it. If it's got fantastic art and a bad story, I'm still okay with it. But if it's got bad art and a bad story, I'm sorry, man. You're just not taking my money. You know.
Yeah, I mean that's how it goes, right? And we also don't have time for everything. I think one of the most depressing things, and it's part of why I want that time stop, time manipulation thing.
Mm-hmm.
There's so many things that I would love to get into that I just, find
Here's
that I don't have time to
why I'm
read
envious
or
of
whatever yet.
Superpower. There's so many shows that I've recorded that I haven't watched. There's so many comics that I've wanted to read, but I haven't picked up yet. You know, it's
Mhm.
like, man, if only I had the time. But
Yeah, yeah,
it is what it is.
yeah. I mean, here's the thing. The way I see it is, you get to run your own Comic Con. right? So and you get to give that kind of experience to so many different people, and the ripple effect there. Um, Even if you're not able to experience all those different things, you're at least able to open that door for people. And like you said, like the kids, and just, I mean, there are people who are in their 50s who have never been to a Comic Con and will go to like an Northwestern Indiana Comic Con and be like, all right, cool, this is what I'm doing like throughout my entire retirement. I'm just gonna like either cosplay or be into comic books or something like that. It's life changing stuff when
Yeah,
you
man.
goes to those.
It's cool, and I'm proud to be part of it. I remember one year we had a cosplayer. He had to be in his 60s, and what was unique about him is every time I saw him, he had a different superhero suit on. Like every time I turned around, he was in a different
Yeah.
and I'm like, how
Yep.
the heck is he doing this? I mean, it was kind of mind-boggling.
There are I think I know probably who you're talking about, but there's like
Yeah,
two or three people that I can think of that would be like that. There are some people who they go to a convention, they'll come in and they'll walk around and enjoy themselves for a little bit, and then they'll go change somewhere. I don't know. Maybe that's actually their superpower,
yeah.
right? And
Like
then
Wonder
they'll
Woman, they do the spin and they're in a new suit, man.
yeah, and they do, and then it's mostly like very different, and it's not like they just reuse their suit or whatever, right? And they
Yeah,
have like different hats or makeup or something on. No, it's like a completely different costume. It's
I
crazy how
know.
people do that.
It's insane, man. I don't have that kind of talent. I we did a parade once, and I did dress up as a Lobo one time, and it was
Yeah,
fun to have that persona, and to get into that character. But I'm envious of you guys to have that ability to not only pull off those costumes, but to stay in the character, whoever you're portraying.
yeah, yeah. And actually, you brought up a good point earlier about staying in character, the fact that like it can influence kids. We've had people on this show who there's one girl that was on here and she runs like a Disney princess
Uh huh.
like club. I don't think it's a company that she's doing yet, but it's something like that. But yeah, she was talking about how important it was, especially when you go to like a hospital on a hospital visit, to one stay in character, but then two like think through things, because if your character can heal people and you go into a costume into a hospital, right,
Hmm.
these kids are believing that you're going to be able to heal them, right, because that's what kind of magic they actually think is happening
Yeah.
with and like it can almost be scary sometimes. Like, don't get me wrong, it's super cool, right, and it's great to see people's eyes light up. And I'll tell people, one of my very earliest memories is seeing Spider-Man at like I went to a baseball game and somebody
Yeah.
was dressed up as Spider-Man. And I thought it was really Spider-Man, right? And he came over and like did Spider-Man pose on top of the dugout and stuff, and I was losing my mind. And I didn't care at all about baseball at that point, right? It was like I just met Spider-Man. Like, this is a thing. So in order to have that type of thing, like, I guess to inspire like that, we need comic cons, we need cosplayers, we need artists to come up with the things, we need comic book writers, and it's so fun to see that all come together,
Yeah, man.
especially under a Comic Con like roof, and to get everybody together. And the best part about it, I guess, especially your convention, is really just how much like people were smiling and laughing and enjoying themselves. It seems like the entire time, and to me, that just really, really does like feel like a magical situation.
It really does, man. It's just a good feeling. That's why I dedicate all this time to it. It's just because it's worth it, man. Just the smile on those kids' faces, and the teens and adults that are hanging out and fist bumping and having a good time. That means a lot. That means that I'm doing my job. I'm pulling off the show where everyone can come together and have a good time, and that's just you know you can't steal that feeling away from me, because it's that magical feeling, that you've accomplished something.
Right, right. Hey, so what's your I guess after the convention is all over, ritual celebration place? Do you go to dinner at a certain place? Do you just take like the next 3 days, 4, 10 days off? What
Honestly,
happens?
man, I on the day of the con, I am like dead. I've been invited to so many after parties for
Yeah,
so many years, and I can't do it, man. I have nothing left in me. You know, we get up so early in the morning. We're on our feet all day. We're setting up and breaking down tables, man.
You were probably setting up the day before as well, right? At very
well,
minimum.
we can. At this last convention center, we weren't able to. You know, we had
Okay.
to. You know, we had to set it up the same day. We had to set up and break down the same day, man. It's, you know, it's kind of, it wears on you, but it's a 1 day thing and it's worth it. You know, and that's why we do it. But
So do you take like multiple days off afterward, or what's the
I do
regimen go?
We always take a couple days off. Both Kelly and I, man, we take a break. Work already knows that we already put it on the schedule. That you know, that the Monday after con, we're automatically off. But it's cool because where we work in a locksmithing industry. We work for International Distribution Network, and we market business to business primarily. And it's cool to have so many people at work that really aren't into per se, you know, comics and Comic-Con, but they support me 110%. They usually come out and they usually have a good time, you know, and it's nice to see when your coworkers that you know aren't into it, you see them at your show and they're like, Brian, this is amazing. Like, this is so cool, you know? And it's kind of like, it reminds me of Luis, you know, he was dressed as Barf once at one of my events, and a coworker was there, and that coworker was like, Luis, is that you? And he's like, oh man. But he said that moment kind of changed things for him, because once people found out that that's what he was doing, they were more welcoming to it, and they're like, oh man, this is awesome, you do this, you know, and it kind of like changed things for him. So that was a cool moment for both of us.
One thing I found is that a lot of people are like shy about how nerdy they are, but a lot of people are still nerdy, right? So everybody's, I guess, I feel like everybody's going to work and they're like, man, after work today, I'm going to go back and watch Lord of the Rings, or I can't wait to be nerdy this weekend in some way, shape, or form. And they just, for whatever reason, don't think that other people are, right? So they don't talk about it, they don't mess with it. And I will say, like, yeah, Comic Cons, I can change that quite a bit.
Yeah, man, for sure. You know, and it's funny how I've watched times change, and I was a closet nerd for a while. You know,
Same.
I didn't let people know that I was collecting comics and I had action figures and all this stuff, because it wasn't, you know, it wasn't the norm. But the more the culture changed and the more popular it became and more mainstream, the more people let their freak flag fly, man. You know, you would see superhero shirts every once in a while, but now you see superhero shirts no matter where you go, you know, and that's cool, man, because when you see them, it's kind of like you're in that club. You know, you can give a nod to that guy that's got that Venom shirt on, or that guy that's wearing that Batman logo. You're like, yeah, man, I know what you're about. You know, we're in that same place, even though we don't run in the same circle and we don't have this, we have that in common. And that's what brings all those people together at Comic-Con, you know?
Totally.
It brings, it unites us all in that.
Yeah, the analogy I always give people is like, it's just like two Bears fans that don't know each other at all, but they're both wearing Bears jerseys, or Packers fans, or anybody else like that. Or the fact that Packers and Bears fans will sometimes run into each other and they immediately are like, I don't like you, kind of, but you still like football and you're still a football fan. So, like, that's the thing, right? So, in the same way, we see people in cosplay, that happens all the time, but also in dirty shirts or whatever you're into. And it's great. It's great. It's a good way of being able to break that ice and be able to try to be friends. And that's the other great thing about Comic-Con. I think that, I guess, I want to, for people watching and also for you, you literally are helping people make friends, and it's hard to do sometimes, especially after you're out of school, right? You're not meeting a whole lot of new people. You may not like be able to meet people who have kids the same age as you, or maybe that's the only people you know. But when you go to a Comic-Con, you meet somebody else that is also into nerdy stuff as well. And I'm not saying everybody that's at a Comic-Con is going to be your best friend, right? Or you're going to get along with everybody, but it's at least a great time to like go out, kick it with family, kick it with your friends, and literally meet new people, because people are willing to come up to you and say hi and talk. and do that. And there's a lot of places that you don't have that. So again, thanks for running the Comic-Con.
Oh man, thank you for the acknowledgement. And I agree with you 110%. This is, we're a good place to form new friendships, to find people with that same commonality, this is where you meet people that you didn't know lived in the same town as you, that were into the same things as you, or people that live out of town, but you become really good friends, and now you have a new vacation destination.
Oh, yeah, for sure. That absolutely happens. But we are running a little late on time.
Oh, okay.
It's normally about an hour, about an hour and 12 in, so it's no big deal.
Well, it's been a good time, and it's been a pleasure on here. If anyone has any questions for me, please shoot me an email, and you can find us on the website at NWI Comic-Con Comic-Con, and I will see everyone February 12th, 2022 at our new location, the Lake County Fairgrounds in Crown Point, Indiana.
Man, wait, are you embarking again? I didn't understand what you. Is that what you were on it? Like, I usually have to guide people into that. You're like, now can we shoot a commercial? Okay, now we're gonna shoot a commercial for Indiana Comic-Con.
Let's go.
Let's do it. Right now, I mean, come on, that was too good. I'm super happy that you do what you do and that you're on the show. Thanks again for coming on the show. For anybody else who's interested in coming on the show, we're always looking for people for Maker Monday. I mean, across the board, right? Like, I don't care if you're making 3D printing parts or gluing things together, doing woodworking. There's making movies, doing Comic Cons, anything like that. Everybody, to me, baking is making. I haven't had a baker on the show yet. I'd love to see that. I'm always looking for new people. If Brian, if you know anybody that you know a lot of different people. If you know somebody can send my way, or at least tell me to reach out to, I'd be happy to.
That sounds great. I will do it.
Yeah, I'm really enjoying doing the show. And thanks again to Kofi. I don't know, Kofi, you want to pop back on the screen? Because man, you are 100% killing it with this. And we've been doing this. I looked at it. I think this is about the 40th one.
This is about episode 40. Yes, we're about a year and a half in.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So, I mean, we have to do something special for 50. I don't know. I'm not sure exactly what's happening there, but we've been doing this. We started this in COVID, and we've been doing this for a while. And I don't plan on stopping. But again, Brian, thank you so much for coming on.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. It was
it was my pleasure and our pleasure. Again, everybody, February 12th, 2022. It's going to be a good time, and I'll see you guys. I'm definitely going to be there. Everybody should come by.
I hope everyone will come out that's watching this video. So
yeah. So how much? What are tickets?
Nerdy, my friends.
Well, what's the ticket price, anyways? What, like $10?
$12.
Yeah, that's really cheap.
Free parking, affordable food emissions, VIP guests, cosplay contests, well over 100 artists and dealers.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I will be there February 12th. Again, thanks for coming. See you guys later. See you guys in 2 weeks.
Have a good